hour break. Each driver gets an hour break, right? That extra driver or standby driver will cover each shift, each of their drivers' shift while they're at lunch. So if it's 6 drivers, right? If it's 6 drivers and each of them have 1 hour break, the question is, how many hours will the extra driver work? Hey, BET Trainer here. Listen, I'm actually driving a mini shuttle bus, doing a shuttle route, a local small shuttle route for a certain college. And as you can hear, that's the radio, because today's topic is about teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work, baby. If you work with the team will work for you. So all you got to do is have that mindset of working with people, because teamwork truly makes the dream work. I'm back. So again, teamwork truly makes the dream work. I'm driving a mini shuttle bus, doing a route at pretty much a local college, and just want to show you all and tell you that teamwork truly makes the dream work. When you work with the team will work for you. I can't stress that enough. When you work with the team will work for you. So right now, doing the pickup, communication is key. When you go up in the morning, wake up, get to the job site, obviously, you go ahead, grab your assigned vehicle, you do the pre-trip of the vehicle, and then you communicate, and they'll have the company have their system in place where you'll be assigned to a certain route, certain vehicle, and what time you'll be departing and dropping off. How you will ever have that structured up. Also, as part of the shuttle route specifically, you have what you call the shuttle route sheet, the passenger sheet. Sheet here, it'll tell you the driver name, right? I'll put BET Trainer. Driver 1, which is me, because this is the first shift. Then it tells you the names of the stops that you would go in. And like I said, communication didn't let me pull up. So, but teamwork makes the dream work. Drive safe and defensively. So, as you keep going here, just another thing to point out. You look at the time that you are dropping off, how many passengers on board, you go ahead, and then you go to the next stop, so forth. The time that you got there, how many passengers you picked up, and then at the end of that last route, you pick up the time and how many passengers you dropped off, and then it's a circle loop. Sometimes it circles back between every 10 to 15 minutes or so. But pretty much it's just about communication when it's time to drop off or when it's time to pull off and do the route and you have passengers on board. You just communicate with the dispatch or you communicate with the supervisor that's on call, right? And the supervisor will go ahead and like you let them know, say, all right, this is bus so-and-so departing at this location at this time. And then you do that at each stop. That's the really tight-knit way. And some supervisors, they'll say, copy that, right? And of course, again, that's communication. So depending on the route, it may be every 5 minutes, it may be every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes. Some routes may be every 30 minutes, or maybe it's up to an hour. You never know. So, all right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and pull off. All right, 7:10, and driving bus, pulling off at 7:10. Make sure you drive safe and defensive. Come on now. That is powerful. Now, I don't have any passengers on board during this time, but when I do, I'll go ahead, make sure, obviously, driving safe and defensive. That's the key, driving safely and defensively. That is key. Being able to do that when you're on the route, make sure you're attentive. Of course, you're checking your mirrors, make sure you're checking your blind spots, and communication is clear. So, of course, the radio will happen you'll hear every 5 to 10 minutes or so. But that communication is clear and it's key in order to have great teamwork, because the driver is only one part, even though it's one of the major parts of the whole operation, specifically even in the shuttle part of the operation. You have the supervisors, you have the clients, which is the passengers as well, the clients. Then you have the passengers. You have the company itself. You have the client that oversees, the supervisor of the client that oversees the passengers. So those things to keep in mind is you being the operator and the driver, that's just one major part of it. So knowing how everyone works together, their positions and their roles, and being able to understand your position and how you are integrated in that, that makes the huge difference. Finding something that will help you be able to have a bigger perspective and still drive safely and operate effectively and efficiently when you're driving your commercial motor vehicle and operating your commercial motor vehicle. So that is really key. When it comes to teamwork, for example, if you have to use the bathroom, usually the shuttle routes, they'll give you breaks depending on how it is. If you have a 5-minute stop, you pull off every 5 minutes, then that's a little bit of a mini break. You get up, stretch your legs, because that's important. Yes, your body is your living. It's important to stretch your legs, your body, take a walk, because being inside this vehicle can take a toll long term if you don't stretch, you don't exercise, if you don't move your body, your muscles, if you don't stretch, if you don't walk. That does take a toll over time. So that's why it's important to do that. Some companies, they have shuttle routes that are 10 minutes. That's pulls every 10 minutes or every 15 minutes. That gives you more grace period. Every 30 minutes, that's really of a grace period of time. So really thinking about how you're going to use your time efficiently and effectively. Now, breaks. When I'm talking about breaks, some companies, the shuttle routes has either a break within the route, or the supervisor or the point of contact will let you know what and or when your break is. Usually breaks can be between 30 minutes, 45 minutes to approximately an hour, depending on the type of job it is. And sometimes you might be on standby. That's a whole nother thing. Standby just means that you're probably either being compensated standby or just standing there or being at the job waiting until it's backup, pretty much. Because if a driver, for example, called out and wasn't able to work for any reason, that standby will be from the standby to the actual driver operating that route or that charter or that specific job. So that's what a standby is, and that does play a role as well, because when drivers need to be on break, what happens is you need a standby. There we go. Drive safe, buckle up, and defensive, right? Drive safely, effectively, efficiently, and drive defensively, because there's more to it than just driving offensively in terms of just focusing on your driving in your lane. But then you have to be mindful of other people, how they drive on the road as well, because you don't know what they're going to do. So that's why it's important to be a defensive driver versus just being an offensive driver. But back to the main topic of when drivers need to be on break, because after the while doing shuttle, it can be a little bit tedious. But some people like that because you have that route, that consistent route. Where you're going, you know what time you're departing, you know what's going to happen every single day. You have that set routine and schedule. Some drivers, some people need that. And then you got other people that want to see different things, do different things, go to different places every single day too. But breaks is important, because after a while, your body, you're going to need a break. So whether it's 30 minutes, an hour, some companies will have that set in place, or the supervisor or the point of contact will let you know when that break is. Now, that break is important. That driver, that standby driver, or the extra driver will be able to cover the shifts, meaning cover your working shift while you're on break. And that driver, that standby driver, or that extra driver, will cover everyone's shifts depending on how many drivers need break, how many drivers are on the job. So let's just say there are 6 total drivers on that route specifically. They all need a break at some point, right? And let's just say they have an hour break. Each driver gets an hour break, right? That extra driver or standby driver will cover each shift, each of their drivers' shift while they're at lunch. So if it's 6 drivers, right? If it's 6 drivers and each of them have 1 hour break, the question is, how many hours will the extra driver work? Go ahead and put in the comments, put in the chat, but think about it. If you have 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers, and they're doing one route, and each driver has 1 hour of break, a lunch break, rest break, whatever that case is. How many hours do that extra driver that's covering those lunch breaks, how many hours do that driver drive? It's a simple question, and it's a simple answer. 6. We driving 6 hours. You take the time to travel from here or from the terminal to the starting location, right? Doing the pre-trip and stuff like that, that's 1 hour. And then vice versa, because you gotta take traffic into account, driving 1 hour back, fueling the bus if necessary, if it's the company that requires you to fuel the bus at the end of each shift. Because some companies, in fact, either companies that has fuel in their terminal or the major bus companies will already have a system in place where maybe the mechanics or the cleaning crew will be able to fuel the bus within the terminal, within their either lot or terminal itself. But generally speaking, that hour have to take into consideration as well. So with that hour, that means 2 hours total of travel time of that driver. 1 hour or so pre-trip, from getting to the job, clocking in to getting to the drop-off site. So from driving from the terminal to the actual working job site where you're being able to start the work, that's an hour. And then those 6 hour shift of relieving the other drivers from their lunch, which is switching buses, swapping buses or vehicles. And then after that driver, that extra driver or that standby driver, then we'll have an hour to go ahead and travel back to the terminal, fuel the bus if needed, and then do the post-trip of the vehicle. So, but all that plays in mind or has a role to play. The supervisor that is facilitating and overseeing the route itself, making sure that everything runs smoothly, effective communication is distributed between the supervisors, the drivers, making sure they're coordinated as well. And depending on how many routes there might be multiple supervisors for that job. It might be just one, it might be two, it might be a few more, depending on the necessity of the route, the request specifically that the client would need or would request. The client might ask for more supervisors or more drivers depending on what's needed for the route and the urgency for that route, because ultimately we're serving people, helping people, the client, right? The client is paying the company, and then the company is paying either the drivers or the people that is doing the service. And or they have it in such a way where the companies have the clients. When the clients are paying, the company uses that to pay for, like I said, the drivers, the business expenses, the fuelage, the supervisors, you name it, the maintenance, the overall expenses of what the company occurs or builds up. But all of this, having that mind frame, is being patient with yourself, knowing people, learning more about how people operate. People want to know that they care, that you care about them. Even if it's not true, even if you don't agree, if you care about someone and they know that you care, they're going to really think, and if it's the right person and they have a good heart, a good mind, a well heart and a well mind and an open mind of positivity, then they will want to make sure they do their best and they want to feel appreciated. They will do the best they can to defend you or help you in any ways. I'll give you an example. When driving the vehicle, when there's traffic and stuff, traffic can delay the specific shuttle route time to pick up the passengers, right? Now, supervisors should already know and see this. The passengers ideally should know, but the passengers, they can either respond one or two ways. They can be mad, they can be pissed off that the vehicle, the bus is late from the shuttle route pickup, even if it wasn't the driver's fault. Or if you show how much you care, that, sorry, traffic was late, but I'm here safely, and you show them that you care. I understand it's late, it was traffic, but I'm here now. It's just how you present yourself. When people know that you care about them, usually, generally speaking, they're gonna think twice before they become irate or defensive. And it's okay to feel frustrated and upset about it, but how you go about that frustration, that upset, that anger, or that emotion really makes the difference, and it's really a determining factor. Make sure you drive safe and defensive.
Remember, decrease your following distance to a very hazard.
Decrease your following distance to avoid hazards. All those things that this supervisor, and again, he's supervising the job that the people are working together in. He's not necessarily supervising people, although you have to help facilitate and knowing how to work with people in order to supervise and help people well. But this supervisor really has that mindset in mind. Safety. Safety is the number one priority. Safety is the number one priority. And having those things in mind, make sure you drive safe and defensively. Make sure you follow your safe following distance to avoid hazards. And then what I like to call it, make sure you take your time safely, effectively, and efficiently. But safety is key when you're doing this. Communication is key as well. So when you're driving, if the road is closed or if it's traffic going by, so if the driver, for example, they're doing the route, or the operator, the driver's doing the route, and there's a lane closure, or it's a road closure, or it's a barricade where you cannot move further, or it's a delay in the route. Communication is key, letting the supervisor know. Saying, supervisor, there's traffic on such and such, or there's a barricade on such and such street at the intersection of Z, whatever the case is. Or you can say, there's a lane closure or due to construction at such and such, and you let the supervisor know. And the supervisor will say, copy that, affirmative, and then they'll let you know the next steps, wherever, if you take the alternate route, or if you cannot move, you let them know that, and then you tell them to stay there. So that way the supervisor can communicate with all the other drivers and everyone involved with the job itself to let them know, attention everyone, there's, for example, supervisor say, attention everyone, there's a lane closure, or there's construction, or there's a barricade on such and such street. At this time, they might tell you to take a different route, alternate route, or they'll say, please be advised. Whatever that case is, communication is key, so that way everyone can work together, can be in sync with each other. That is key. So they say teamwork makes the dream work. But what I add to it is, if you work with the team will work with you. You work with the team gonna work for you. It's simple as that. They say one hand washes the other. Try to wash your hand with one hand. It's possible, but it can be a little bit challenging versus you wash it with two hands. So one hand washes the other. So those are things in mind when it comes to teamwork. Really knowing what that is. Like, together you stand, but divided you fall. Together you stand, divided you fall. So together you stand, working together as a team, but divided, separated, and you fall. But teamwork is really key, because working together is united as one, as a team, but you divide. So dividing, if it's division, then that means it will fall. Teamwork is not going to be together. Everything's not going to align and sync, and then it causes more stress in the long term when you're not working together as a team. And communication is part of teamwork, but there's other elements to teamwork. Again, the radio, that will happen every few minutes when necessary. Yep. So the radio, that's happened for necessary communication. Key thing about the radio, make sure you only talk about the necessary things on the job when you're doing the radio. And just in general, but specifically on the radio, you got to keep the line, drive safe and defensive. You got to make sure you keep the line clear, so that way emergency comes up, then that channel, that communication can be addressed. But talking about things that has nothing to do with the job, about how was your day, what did you saw last night, what movie did you see, what did you do, those things should not and cannot be talked about on the radio. It's only about communication referencing the route and the job specifically itself. What time you're pulling off, approximately how many passengers on board. But again, you'll note that right on this sheet. And at the end of the day, if you're the first driver of that shift, you'll finish it, write this here, you leave it, the other driver will fill it out. The last driver that fills this out leaves it on the bus. At the end of the day, they take it with them, take it back to the terminal, and turn that in. Now, this is just paper form. There's other ways to fill it out online, depending on the type of company and the way that is structured and set out. But most likely, I'll be able to pick up more passengers at some point, because it is pretty early. But yep, I have passengers on board, but that's my topic for today. Teamwork makes the dream work. So again, teamwork makes the dream work. Make sure you drive safely on the road. Make sure you're doing the necessary things needed in order to effectively drive commercial motor vehicle. And keep y'all posted. This video was sponsored by BET Life Services and CDL for Life. Listen, if you really enjoyed the value of this video, just click comment what you liked. And then if you really want to get more updates on more future videos, life-changing videos, then go ahead and click the subscribe button so that way you can be able to be updated on the latest videos. Now, there's a free offer that is underneath of this video. You got to click the link to get it because it may not be available. BET Life Services and CDL for Life is offering this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you to change your life for the better by giving away bonuses that's worth hundreds of dollars or more. But the link is down below, and it's not guaranteed that it's going to be there the next time you see it. And it's only going to be available to those who take action, and it's only available for a certain amount of people. So if you want to get access to this life-changing opportunity to change your life, click down below so you can get instant access to the free bonuses down below. So go ahead and do that, and I'll see you in the next video.